And welcome to Youth Central Sports. Happy to be with you and Happy New Year to you. I'm Charles Morse, where we come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m. with Youth Central Sports. And I have the guy that I do my best to track him down. I really do. What's up, Mr. Carter? How you doing? And Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year.
Well, Happy New Year to you too, and I sure appreciate the fact that you try to keep up with me. That means a lot, and it helps me to know where I need to be and when I need to be there.
Well, I want to tell you that I really appreciate the fact that, you're part of Youth Central Sports. So we've been working together, for some years now.
Yeah, it has been a while.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of heartbroken, that you up there in Tennessee, that you're no longer here in the Central Florida area, but that's okay, but because of the technology and the way things are,
Amen.
So we
Yeah,
good, right?
technology. Yes, that's right. It allows us to stay in touch, and I appreciate that.
Right. Well, we got a chance to, we would get a chance to do the year in review. And I know maybe there's some things that you might want to highlight. I know there's some things that's on my list. But first of all, hey, I want to tell you, I did not get a chance to talk with you, but your son had a flashback about like a week ago. Did you see that? Huh?
I
No,
did.
serious. Did you see that?
I was
He
absolutely
was he
taken
was
back
he
by
was
that.
he was 10 of 12 from the floor. He was hitting everything that night. Did you see that?
Well, he was 4 for 4 from the 3-point line,
Right.
and at 24 points against a quality team. Not looking at scores, but I looked at his box scores. He had some blocks and some steals and some assists. Had a complete basketball game, and it's amazing. Yet it's kind of what you expect, but it's amazing to see him come in and get that done. Still getting it done. I mean, quality time against a quality team, which I think is very impressive. And I got to say, I
Right.
was excited. I was absolutely. I was like, I can't believe this old guy still out here getting it done.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my goodness, so great for him. How does he like being out there in
Yeah.
California?
He likes it pretty much. He kind of likes that lifestyle. I think California lifestyle is so different, but I think the excitement about being there with that team and its growth and stuff is really making it fun for him. He's in a situation where he's probably doing a little bit of teaching as well as playing on the team, helping these young guys grow into being NBA players, growing into being young men, professionals, and then helping them marry those two between social and the sport atmosphere. He seems to enjoy that, which I think is good to have those kind of guys around. But I'll tell you, Charles, I read recently some rumors that he might be being traded. And, the rumor line is out there that he possibly could be traded. No particular destination. It's just starting to be a conversation. And he said that he's heard some of the rumors, but wherever he goes, he's gonna dress out, go out, and do what you got to do.
Well,
I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, Toronto's a destination.
but see, Vince, we can get back to the year in review, but one of the funny things to me is I don't know, it's because I'm older now, whatever it is, but it's funny to me that these guys act the way that they do, whether or not it's a trade or whatever that is. And when you don't wake up realizing that you're part of the elite and you're in the NBA, the Major League Baseball, you're in the NFL, you're in hockey, and a team trades you, you're playing in the professional league. How blessed are you to wake up to have a contract and to be able to go out and play a child's game? And yet they are hound you and act like and talk to you like a team trades you and like you're supposed to hate, like it's like the worst thing in the world. And here you are, your job is to go out and play basketball. And if a team trades
Wherever.
you, your job is to go out there and play basketball. And they act like it's the worst thing in the world. So I don't get that. I mean, I can understand where you, of course, you're part of that team and you're there, you got your family there and you have to, but the reality is you're getting up to go play basketball. How pissed can you be?
Well, when Perkins left Boston, both Perkins and Doc Rivers kind of shedded a tear because they had that bond between coach and player and the team bond. And the whole coach upset that he was leaving, but they understood his business. And he
Right.
walked away, said he was disappointed that he couldn't remain there, but he understood I got to go on. And I think that's the difference when you understand what you're saying, that this is a part of the game. I'll give you an example. My son was drafted by Golden State and was traded to Toronto within the same night, within a matter of in less than an hour. So you understand early, I think, that it's a business, and you can't take it personal. Now, do you get ties? Sure you do. Do you have preferences? Sure you do. But the mature thing is, like as you indicated, whether it's the NFL, the Major League Baseball, or professional hockey, you get up, you go on to the next city, put on the uniform, and you go out and play. And that's just a part of life, I think. And many of them understand it, but then others seem to have different feelings. I think there are other things that we don't know about that may have caused that trade, or they have those ties they don't want to be traded. But it is just the nature of the game, and it happens that way.
Yeah, well, it's just hard for me to understand sometimes because I mean they act like it's like the worst thing in the world, but yet here you are, you're playing, and I don't know what else. How ungrateful do you have to be?
Well, a lot of them, two of these guys, I've heard a few of those guys, they have to uproot their families and all that. And I do understand that. I understand you got young kids in school, and sometimes they leave the kids behind because they're already at the end of the school year, and they pick up and go. I understand how difficult that can be, but it's just how it goes. And nothing is guaranteed. You go in understanding you can be traded. That's why some guys put no trade clauses in their contract. But other than that, you get traded. I mean, it's like, and sometimes it's not a bad thing. Sometimes it can be really, really good for you. So I kind of agree with you. What you're fussing about? You still getting your paycheck. You're still in one of the most elite opportunities that could ever be for a sports person. Why would you complain? But again, I've never been in that situation, so I want to show some sympathy to those guys. But still, I think it's a great opportunity because it's not like somebody cancel your job and you're no longer on the team. You just got traded. And sometimes that's a financial reason. Sometimes it's to strengthen the team. Sometimes somebody wants you. And they want you to become and be a part of their team. So I think there are a lot of positives to it, while there are negatives.
Now, we have gotten into the conversations about these bowl games, right? Right? We talk about the bowl game, and I get frustrated. I get frustrated because I always say I have no respect for Division I, in the sense of they're not about the championship, it's about money. Okay, that part I get. So when they start talking about championship game and all this other stuff, it's just no. Okay, like for an example, in the news today, UCF has claimed themselves national champions. Okay, what they did was in the contract, they said if you win a national champion, you get bonuses. Guess what? They've given the whole coaching staff and everybody their bonuses because they putting up in the stadium national champion. Now, they beat Auburn, and I said on this show, even though you wasn't part of the show, I said on this show that if they played Auburn and if they stayed within 2 touchdowns of Auburn's, I would consider UCF a good team because I look at Auburn as probably one of the top 4 teams in the country because they beat who? They beat Alabama and they beat Georgia. Mm-hmm. Who's playing for the championship? Alabama and Georgia, right? Okay, so they beat the team who have beat the 2 teams that are playing for the national championship. Now, whether or not I'm a UCF fan, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the system and how wrong it is. So it's like, what do you have to do? Here's a team that has gone undefeated, and not necessarily, I'm not talking about the UCF, but they did all that they were supposed to do, but they have no shot. So
there's been an awful lot of conversation about that on both sides of that thing, even from the school itself, from players, from coaches, from those who make those decisions. And there's some division about it. The true heart says the system is what the system is, and this is the way it falls out. And I understand that. But a team that's gone 13-0 and beat two of the teams, in fact, end up being the two teams that played for the national championship, it's kind of hard to understand. How could they not be being recognized? I don't blame them for self-proclaiming. I actually agree with that because it's a monumental accomplishment for the school. What a great year. Hopefully the new coach coming. Can you imagine sitting in the stand as a new coach coming in and looking at what's out on the field? These guys are going 13-0 and you got them next year with the expectation that you will go 13-0. So but kudos to them, and I 100% agree with them.
But
they should celebrate.
But Vince, if it was the same scenario next year, they'll be in the same situation. You know why? Because again, it's not Alabama. It's not. They're not in the SEC. They're not in the ACC. So they're not Florida State. They're not Notre Dame. They're not USC. And I'm saying, if another team that goes undefeated, it's the same thing. So it's not about crowning a championship. It's about the hype. It's about the talk. It's about the money.
Well, they're going to get all of that on Monday because they got two teams that not a whole lot of people to the stadium, and they're going to get all the things that they're going to walk away crowning what they call a national champion. And I don't think that should diminish UCF's accomplishments. I think they have a right to claim what a great year they've had, and I think they've gained the respect of everybody. Would it be interesting to see, though, if they were to go 13, next year, where would they be? Because I think there'd have to be some adjustment. There'll be some people that will be saying, wait a minute, that's 2 years back to back now. Now you got some serious explaining to do because they're gonna look at this and say, they had a great year this year. These other teams have had great years every year. That should not be the formula for the picking those teams. It's got to be whatever rating they use. Now, I guess they're saying UCF wasn't a part of that rating, but UCF was 13-0, and they didn't play no chump teams.
Right.
Especially when you beat the two teams. I mean, that means the two teams that are playing for the national championship. You cannot ignore that. But I'm going with them. I'm national champion, UCF national champion. I'm claiming we're gonna have multiple champions. We have two national champions. We're gonna have yours, and then we're gonna have mine. So, but I think it's a great accomplishment. It's a great accomplishment. But it would be interesting to see what the conversation would be, and I think we're gonna hear even still more about this. Their conversation is not over. I don't think anything's going to help them, obviously.
Well, see, I really didn't watch them this year. I mean, I kept hearing about them, kept hearing about their record, kept hearing about them, and I think I saw parts of the when they were playing the I guess in their conference game. I saw parts of that as I was going in because that was the day of my summit, and so we were at the Smith Center, and one of the guys had the game on, so I was popping in and out because it was a high scoring game and everything. So when they won, and actually I think the game went in overtime too. And I was saying because I really didn't see them play, and so knowing what Auburn is, and I had seen them, and I saw what they did to Alabama, I saw what they did to Georgia, and I'm like, if UCF can stay within 2 touchdowns of this team, I can have some respect for UCF, right? So now I'm watching the game. I'm like, oh, okay, wow. Now, for them to beat Auburn in a bowl game, because you can't tell me that Auburn. See, there's a difference, like during the season, because sometimes, during the season they may come in and say, well, you know what, we're not going to take this team serious, this school serious, right. Blah 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 blah. But they were in a bowl game in which they had the time to prepare. It was on New Year's Day, big bowl, and they won.
Highly visible showcase game, and they came out, and I had seen them play 3 other games. Like you, I had heard about them, and I actually caught them a couple of times. I came away very impressed at the way they were playing, and then I got real excited when they were like 8-0 and 9-0, I was like, oh, these guys are for real. And then to watch that game, the way they played that game, it was a good game. I mean, very well coached on both sides, I thought, and just turned out to be just fabulous. You couldn't ask for a better bowl game, and I was rooting for them because I kind of like the way the coaches handle his business there. Although I really hate to see him leave. I love the relationship he had with the team and with the players and with the coaching staff. And I was rooting for that kind of success. And then I was so happy to see them win it, but kind of disappointed he's going to leave. But he did his job, and he stayed there to the end. He said that I'm going to stay with. I started with him, and I'm going to stay through to the end.
Well, I still say, man, it's very difficult. It's very hard to. I mean, I get the whole money thing and the hype, and they like the controversy. So, and what I'm saying as a competitor, as a person who into sports, who like to see the competition, because they're gonna make their money. The money is gonna always be there, but I still don't see why they can't get an 8-team or 10-team, 12-team, playoff, and it would be so great on so many levels that and it's just amazing to me. I've said it 1,000 times. How does all the schools from Division II, Division III, NAIA, and all the sports have a playoff, and they're able to work it out, but they can't do it in Division I? It makes absolutely no sense, except they love the controversy, they love the money.
The argument, Division I will give you the argument. There are more Division I teams than there are Division II, III, NAIA. So I understand that they're saying it's easier for them to pull together that, okay, I buy the numbers game. I buy the length of the season. I buy all of that. But I do think they could improve on how that's done. I still agree with you on that part. That they could find and I don't have any ideas I can suggest to them at this time, but I just think there's another way to do this. But you came up with 4 teams. You found a way to put those 4 teams in. They went out. They've earned their way to it. And here on Monday, we'll get a final answer.
Okay, but again, I just think it's just about the money and the hype. They love the hype. They love, they love us having this conversation.
Where did this money come?
Where they're in the bars and they're on the phones. Somebody else who don't like somebody else, somebody who has a favorite team. Well, so all of that is part of what they love, part of the country, and everybody just love going back and forth, and that's what they love. So it's not about a true champion. I just have no respect for them, for that.
Well, you may not have any respect for him, but I really suggest that they pay the marketing director a bonus, because he got everybody talking.
Oh yeah, I mean, because they're going to get their money.
He's going to get that money, and he's raised because he's got a lot of conversation that's going to be had about this. And then there was a whole lot of controversy as to how did Alabama get back in, even though they were the 4th team? How did they get back? Why not Ohio State? Why not all these other folks? Listen, it don't matter. We got 4 teams. They done fought their way down. Now we got 2. Here we go. And all the formulas in between, they'll go back to the table, and they'll tell you that we're going to take another look at it for next year. But right now, this is what we got. In other words, they don't care.
Right.
They go crown a champion. They're going to crown a champion. And
right.
I'm not trying to defend their method, because I'm not sure I 100% understand it. I certainly don't always agree with it, but they got me hooked. I'll be sitting there Monday looking at, trying to see who wins.
Right. Well, man, it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of sad, for me, because I don't know. Because you just love, the competition. I mean, that's what you want it to be about. But hey, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like it's about everything but the competition.
And if you talk to them, they tell you it's the opposite. Those people who support that system will tell you that this is the best interest of the programs, the best interest of the young athletes, and all of the above. And I don't doubt that they do in fact care about that. But I also I would have to be or have to acknowledge the fact that you've got to make this thing work for you, or you can't do it. And that's the bottom line where you're talking about, where we're going to come down to making money. And that's what it's all about. My thing would be now giving, we had a brief conversation about paying the athletes. If you look at all this hype that's taking place over this and the number of athletes that are involved, I still think there's a way to give those guys a stipend, because you're living off of their images, you're living off their careers, you're living off the history and stuff that what these guys are putting on the field.
But Vince, that's my whole point. That's my whole point, because they're not interested in the things in which the sports and fans are really about when it comes to sports and the competition. They're set in their ways, and it's about their money. They don't care. They don't care about the athlete. They don't care about. I mean, something as simple as.
They say they do.
Huh?
They say they do, and I've seen them make some
actions speak louder than words, Vince. Come on now. I mean, you as a coach, you have a relationship with these guys, right?
You're equating actions with money. Now, they have made some changes in the favor of the athlete. Yes, they have tried to accommodate the athlete for what they believe is most beneficial to the athlete. But even the bottom line of that is to make their product even stronger. So they're gonna give a little bit, give a lot.
But what I'm saying is, this country is so sports crazy because we don't have anything else to do, and we don't know what else to do with ourselves. What I'm saying is, the fans are going to be there. The game is going to be there. They're not going to lose any money, but it's like, you know what? I got to make $1 trillion. I got to make $1 trillion, and that's what I want to do. I don't want to share my trillion to do what is right, because I just love my money.
It's costly to put these events on. I won't get into their profit and loss statements, but I think, it's an entertainment thing. It's hot. It's a hot property. It's a product that people want. They're willing to pay for it. That's the supplied economics. I mean, if they want it and they're willing to pay for it, you give it to them. And the ticket prices, in my opinion, are somewhat absorbent, but people don't mind paying. They come and stay a week to be a part of the festivities or whatever. It is a national entertainment, and this is the way people go, because I think people are stressed out. And I have had, and I'm partly one of those kind of people stressed out about my team's productivity and activity on the court and on the field, where you get so involved, and I think it helps to relax and relieve me of my own stresses. But at the same time, we are a country of competition, and which is kind of surprising in a sense, but we are a world of competition now, because it's global. And we love the competition on the field. We want to be a fan. And obviously, we always want to be a fan on the winning team. And they use that as a great marketing tool to get us to come and be a look at the rage. And now here's where I sit on the soccer thing in Orlando. I don't get that. I'm not a soccer guy.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, what is? I mean, people are going nuts over that. I couldn't get it. I just, I appreciate it. I thought it was great, but I couldn't see what's the excitement. So I had a chance to peek in, and actually have not had the pleasure of attending a game, but I had a chance of peeping in and on a video of some people, and Charles, it was amazing, and they were trying to help me understand this was like a big time basketball game for me, or a big time football game. While I appreciated the sentiment, I just couldn't grab it. I mean, but see, that thing's out of control. It's come into a city with an NBA team that people. Orlando's becoming a soccer scene. That's what people know it for. They don't even talk about the Magic anymore. Now they're talking more about UCF. They talk about UCF.
Well, have you seen the Magic play? Have you seen the Magic
play?
No,
I haven't. I've seen the Magic
not talking about the Magic, and they talk about soccer.
I've seen the Magic on the floor, but I haven't seen the Magic play. So I understand what you're saying. But I'm just saying, they have allowed them to come in and grab that attention. And people who I never knew were soccer fans, unless they were undercover. Yeah, they were that purple stuff all over the thing. They had me wanting to buy one or two purple items because the craze was so fantastic. And I think they have the same controversy about the same thing you're talking about, the bowl issues. I think they got the same thing on their side. I just don't know that much about it, but the excitement is unbelievable. World soccer is even larger, and that's hard for me to understand. I guess because I'm not a soccer guy, I don't get it. But you're talking about money. Now, you talk about marketing and money and carrying. I don't know what the dynamics of it are, but people are glued to that.
Well, see,
even so, they got me watching a couple of soccer games.
But see, that's one of the things that you're talking about, the year in review. In the year in review, you just found out that people in Orlando crazy about soccer.
I mean, I'm sitting and I'm listening to people, and just when I was there for the summer, some of the conversation, I was at several basketball events and stuff like that, and they're talking about soccer, and I'm like, are you serious? This is basketball. You got to be here for the soccer season.
But see,
before I moved away.
But maybe America is catching up with the rest of the world because the rest of the world loves soccer.
Well, the people.
I mean, because that's the number one sport in all of the world.
Well, Europe is huge. When I used to live in Europe, that's when I got my real exposure to soccer. It's not just a casual game because they had leagues and so on and so forth. And you're right. The rest of the world just in love with soccer, and I think we're just catching up. Same thing with hockey. Thing with hockey. We've all of a sudden come in love. It's all over. I'm in an area here where you got a national football team, Titans, and they're doing reasonably well this year. But last year, the hockey team made it to the Stanley Cup. The city liked to come unglued. These people were going nuts, and I was excited to be around it, but I didn't have the same feeling. But they were going, and so I'm interested to see. And we've had some conversations already to see what, like, if the football team could get down, would the city would it be the same excitement? To be honest, I don't think so.
Right. Yeah.
That hockey thing and that soccer thing, man, people are going crazy. And I'm trying to catch on. I'm trying to be a fan, but I don't know.
Your year-end review. Other than the fact that you found out that Orlando is a soccer place, a soccer town, when you look back on 2017, what are some of the things that stand out in the sports world for you? What are some of the most memorable moments? Was it something that, like Kyrie leaving Cleveland, going to the Celtics, North Carolina winning the championship? Was it Golden State going losing only one game in the in the finals? I mean in the playoffs.
I thought this year, if you look at, for me, looking at, and those were some of the things that I really got excited about, because I thought for Carolina to come back 2 years back to back, to come back to back, and then win it the second year, I thought it was quite an accomplishment. They were so close the first year. And from a sports standpoint, the likelihood of us being able to keep that team together and keep that focus together, and to be hungry to come back that next year and not only get back to the championship, but to win it, I thought was quite an accomplishment for those guys. And I was very, very, very excited about that. Also looking at some of the trades, the big three conversation that we've been having a lot about in basketball, I thought that became such a huge, huge issue, which I didn't quite understand what's the big deal about that. But the Kyrie Irving move was quite an intriguing situation for me, and I still don't know that I fully understand what motivated that, other than the fact that he wanted to be out from up under LeBron and to kind of have that spotlight unto himself. But I thought that was a major change. Then of course, the Golden State is putting up numbers. It's going to be hard to beat. I mean, they've done. I thought the old Spurs was one, and going back to the Lakers and the Celtics and of old, but to see what Golden State is doing is very impressive. Those were some things that really kind of got me excited. Baseball, I was real little disappointed. I got really close, but they weren't able to pull it out. I was so excited because I'm a Magic Johnson fan, and the fact that Magic was able to put his hand in the LA Sparks, the Lakers, and then the Dodgers, and have them all be playing at a high level speaks a lot to his leadership and his ability to put together strong organizations. So I thought those were sports. What a model! What a model that he put out from a sports perspective.
Okay. Now, let me tell you something that really was kind of, not that I get into it that much, but the Super Bowl when the Patriots, I think it was down 28-3. I think that's what the score was. I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I give props where props are due, but what people really don't talk about was what won that game was the Patriots defense that stepped up and did what they needed to do, and your boy Ryan just couldn't make the play when he got sacked and took them out of that field goal range. And I'm looking at him and I'm going, man, you can't let that happen. You got to go and get this field goal because it's gonna make all the difference in the world. But the fact that the Patriots defense stepped up and made some big plays in that Super Bowl game to me was the difference in that game. Because, they're going to talk about Tom Brady, blah, blah, blah. But it was that defense that made those plays that made the difference in that game.
But Charles, I share that with you. And I think when one of the things that really gets me excited in sport, particularly when you're talking about team sport, to your point, where you got a team out there, they're all got 50-some guys on the field trying to get to one goal, and you got 2-3 phases of the game, and all phases are clicking at a very high level. You got to tip your hat to the coaching staff to be able to get all guys focused in the same direction, playing at the same high level, and making adjustments to the game to win the game. I'm always impressed with team sport when you can get you get that team motivated where they get out there and work together. And I think you saw that for the Patriots. The offense, the defense knew they had to win the game, and they went out and they got that done. That speaks a lot to them. I'm not particularly a Patriots fan.
No, I'm not.
But I have a huge respect for Belichick and his ability to put an organization. Same thing, but you say what you want about Alabama, but you got to give this man credit for being able to put together teams and get them to play at a level that and everybody's playing at a very high, consistent level. They're well coached. They study well. I mean, it's just amazing to me. One of the things that I love about coaching is the ability to get a group of people focused in the same direction, a common goal, and everybody's working toward it. So they work for groups of people who work as one. So you got to get the management or at least the coaching staff. I don't want to say management, but the coaching staff. You got to give them some props for that. And I think you've seen that in the Golden State Warriors. You've seen that in the Patriots. You got to give them credit for that.
Right. I was looking at some of the guys that pass, like for an example, like Connie Hawkins passed. And, the kids today don't know who this guy was, legendary guy. Go way back,
Yes.
true old school. I read his book I read his book years ago when, talking about what he went through and that whole scandal was a very good book. Did you ever get a chance to read that book, that he wrote?
I did not read it from cover to cover, but I've read excerpts from it. And I kind of cheated. I read the beginning, I read the middle, and then I got to skip it.
Right. But what is it? Rollo, they coach Villanova.
Raleigh Massimino.
Yeah, right.
Massimino.
Right. The funny thing is, on April 1st, 1985, to this day, I have yet to see that game. I was such a Georgetown fan, and I wasn't able to see that game that night, and I was so shocked that Tuesday, come to find out that Villanova played the perfect game. I think they shot like 74% from the field. didn't miss anything. And when they had talked about, because you know the Big East was big back then, it was a monster back then in those days, and they had talked about when they had played Georgetown twice earlier that those were really close games, and I didn't know that. But when they talked about those two games that they had played previously against Georgetown, that those games were really close as well. So, and to this day, I have yet to see that game.
I've seen, you know, sometime on TV, I catch those classics as they call them, and you get a chance to see some of those games. That was a huge rivalry back in the day. Two very good friends. But when they got on that floor, they were definitely competitors. And I thought it was, when Villanova won, although I was disappointed Carolina lost that year a couple of years ago, but I thought it was ironic that Riley Massimino was in the crowd when Jay Wright won that. And he went over to him and kind of like said, "This is for you." And he was so excited. And then I think he died next year. Something. So what a way. And one of the things about sports, too, is I think that we don't hear about it. Like, for instance, I was very impressed with the young man that's playing for UCF, Graham Griffin, I think his name.
Right.
What a story. What do you say to another player that's playing next to him about what you can and cannot do? When this young man is giving it his own, they say he sleeps in the film room, he studies hard, and then he comes out and just plays his heart out. And they was talking about Coach Forster from UCF and his staff. They have videos and stuff that they're taking with them to make sure they never forget the experience they've had of being able to coach this young kid. And I can only imagine what that was like, because I like team sport. I like that motivation from a team where you can motivate each other. But this young man was unbelievable. And I watched him play. He played with such love for the game. And he's a hard hitter.
Right.
But he plays. You can see the love he has for the game. And I think that's what sport does. Sport brings out those kinds of stories that you ordinarily wouldn't see. I think sport does a great job of that. Now, that was probably one of the highlights for me for the year. And I'm so excited for him, as I am for the whole school, but for his effort, for not quitting. I think for not taking the limitations that were being put on him and to take those things and use them as stepping stones and really to achieve great heights. And they're talking about he possibly in the NFL.
But we were just having that conversation, Vince. I was just having that conversation earlier today and yesterday, because there's a famous scene in Ray that that we always talk about. And one of the things that Ray's mother did was she treated Ray as if though he was normal. And she,
that's correct.
I think, put in his mind that you are not going to look at yourself as being handicapped. So when you see stories like that, and when you see that young man, I think about his parents and what they must have instilled in him and how they saw him. And they were not going to let themselves treat him as if though he was not a normal person, and that is key to people in those situations like that, because I've seen it. I've seen the opposite side of it. I've seen what has been done to when people treat them as if though they are handicapped, and they think that way, they live that way, their mindset are that way.
I'm blessed right now to be working with a group of kids who kind of fit that category. They're being taught to be self-sufficient within their own world, not my world, but their world. And you are shocked to see how well they function. They're being taught to tell time, being able to maybe to shop for themselves, be able to handle their monies, and teach them how to do some simple stuff that those that have the aptitude is to live what we would call, or what they would call, a normal life. You're talking about inspiration. Each day I go in and sit with one of them and work with one of them, I'm inspired to the point that I ask myself, what obstacles do I have that I cannot overcome? That I'm looking at a kid here who doesn't even know he has an obstacle. He's not even aware of the fact that there's something. He's probably looking at me thinking there's something wrong with me because I don't look like him. I don't act like he does. So I get it daily, and so I have a great appreciation for, even more so from sport, when one can overcome those kinds of obstacles. And it's truly an inspiration. I mean, it really is. And I tell the kids that I work with, you don't know how lucky you are. And you cannot cheat this. Do not cheat this. Do not take this for granted. Take it and use it to its fullest ability. Whether you play professional ball or not, don't cheat this game and don't cheat yourself, because you really don't have any limitation.
You want to know the funny thing is that I was one, and most of the people that I played with, I was blessed enough to have been around guys that was extremely competitive and listened.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have too many knuckleheads on our teams growing up. Over the years, you always have one or two, but not to the extreme. And plus we had the type of coaches that if you were a knucklehead, that was not good for you. The type of coaches we had, because I even go back and I talk to my coaches now, and I ask them, and just recently, within like about two years ago, both of them, my high school coaches, and I said, Coach, I said, could you coach today like you coached us? And they both was like, oh, no. They would come and arrest us, and of course, he said, no, you can't do that. So just understanding growing up and seeing how the game was played and how we were coached, it is so different now.
Yes.
And
yes.
It's and actually, I mean, for yourself who coach, I mean, I coach, and I've been kind of hesitant because I've been asked to come back and coach, and I probably need to be a better person. But Vince, I'm kind of old school still, and to be honest, it scares me. It scares me because I don't know how else to do what I do, but the way that I do it. And so I'm kind of like, should I go? And I'm like, because if you're not putting forth the effort, then I probably would piss some parents off, man. Because parents are messed up. I don't think it's the kids. I think it's the parents.
I 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. But I think you would make the necessary adjustment to what you are being faced with, but without compromising the principle in what you believe in. Because that's what's going to make you effective. You got to go in and be you. Now, are you going to have to adjust? Yeah, you're going to have to make some adjustments about how and what's allowed, and you're going to have to learn about the atmosphere around you and so on and so forth. But your drive, your love for the game, and what you're trying to get done translates to that kid, where he understands where you're coming from. And yeah, you might not be able to grab him in the collar, but you can say something to him that has the same effect. You look at him and he understands. Oh, I got you, Coach. I think I understand what you're saying. And there are ways to get that message across. I had to make some adjustments because I'm a hands-on guy. I believe in what I just said, but I've learned how to take that passion and channel it a different way, still get my point across. Because what I believe would happen, you would get so involved in the game. Because what we don't have out there now is good teachers. We got guys that can coach what they call coaching, but we don't have great teachers. You get out and break this thing down and really teach this game. Because when you teach the game, then you can do what you do. Because then when you say something to them, they have a reference point of what you're talking about. They understand the mechanic because you taught them the mechanic. I would encourage you to go and assist for a while and see how you get a taste of it, because it's a little bit different than it was. But your passion will rise like cream to the cream. It'll come to the top, and you can't help it. I can tell you from personal experience. I was on a football field, and I was so nervous because I was so excited. I didn't know what to do with myself. And the guy said, "What you think?" I started talking for 20 minutes when he asked me that question. I said, "He probably won't ask me again," because I had so much I wanted to say. So I know how you feel, but I would encourage you to do it because we need more teachers. We need people who are passionate about the game, not caught up in the flash of the game. My son.
But see, that's the thing, Vince. Because when I coach, I don't coach in the sense of the game, I try to coach in the sense of life. So the game I care
Well,
I care very little about. But what I care about is your attitude towards the game, your preparation, and how you play the game. I don't care whether or not you win or lose. I care about who you
well,
are on the field, and I'm trying to help you down the road when this game, when you 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, and that's where my passion is. I want you to, because I mean, to want to win is there. And those, when you do what you're supposed to do, the wins and losses will take care of themselves. So I want to, my thing is how you act and your passion and your preparation and how you're going to play this game, you know?
well, that's what coaching is about. I mean, that's what you don't have today, and that's what sets some coaches apart. Is that they go out. Nobody coaches to lose, and we all coach to reach a certain level. Yes, I want to win. I want to perform at the highest level. I want to compete. And if I'm competing, then in my case, I'm happy if we can compete, because win loss will take care of itself if we compete. What would upset me is if we're not competing. We're not playing the best that we can. We're not executing. We don't have a care for what we're doing. That bothers me. Even if we won, I would be upset, because I know eventually we're going to lose. So that kind of passion and preparation to me is what coaching is about. It's not about just coaching the sport. It's about coaching the young athlete from being a young athlete to a more mature athlete to becoming a responsible adult. And we're using the sport as a vehicle to teach that while we teach the sport itself. So I think that's what the coaching is about. And when you talk to coaches who have those kinds of passions, you find teams that play at a different level. Now, you got to know an X and an O. You got to have some understanding of the game. You know, or you got to have somebody around you that understands the game so they can teach X's and O's. But what you're talking about to me is the fundamental basis for strong teams who play hard, who execute, who build relationships with each other, and they become better people. They become better people. They become better teammates. They become better teams. And they go on and reach some level of success. I don't think you should ever apologize for that. I don't ever think you go in and saying, I coach this way, but this is how I do it. And the results will speak for itself. I'm going to build individuals. I'm going to build young athletes who are going to compete and play and become young men and women of life. But the training ground is going to be the sport right here, whether it's soccer or tennis or whatever it is. You know, because that's how I feel. I mean, I come hard. I mean, it's not that I'm trying to be a hard, but I'm thinking of 20 years down the road, when you meet a similar situation, I want you to know what to do with this. I want you to say, oh, yeah, I know how to handle it. I'm not afraid of this. And so you do it now. And so I encourage you to get involved. I really do. I mean, I don't, your passion for young ladies, I'm gonna have to leave that with you. I don't have that.
The reason why, and that's why I coach the girls, because because they listen, man. I love it because I mean, when I first started, and I even like for an example, and it's not that I'm patting myself on the back, but the season started early. I mean, early in the season, I think it was like the second game, and I couldn't make that second game. And the girl that the young lady that I was coaching with, because we were working together, and she was the reason why I started, because her daughter was playing. And so it was like the second game, and trying to get it together, and and I couldn't make the game. So I think it was a husband. I don't know if it was a husband or boyfriend at the time. It may have been a husband at the time. So he went and coached that morning, and then I think they lost about 30-some points or something like that. About 3 weeks later, one of the officials that had officiated that game, that second game, he came up to me. He said, man, first of all, I want to shake your hand. He said, this team that I saw a few weeks ago is not the same team. This is a totally different team. This team competes, and it's a total different attitude. You've done a great job. Now, when he came, because I wasn't expecting, I didn't even know he had seen them play. But after the game, he came up to me and he told me, and he said, I just want to congratulate you, guy, because this ain't the same team that I saw 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, and I'm like, oh, okay, because I know how we were three weeks ago, but I wasn't at that game. But once he came to me and he said what he said, and I was like, oh, okay. So it did kind of make me feel good, as if though the team had accomplished something.
Yeah, well, small victories. I mean, I think it is about attitude. I'm coaching varsity basketball, and the principles are the same: attitude, commitment, willing to listen, understanding, being focused, being willing to execute at a high level, being hold yourself accountable. It doesn't change. I don't care I don't care what level you're coaching. It's the same thing. And for someone to be able to bring that, some coaches do a great job at that. Some coaches don't. Some coaches are real good at X's and O's. They can draw up plays and all that kind of stuff. But they don't have, and some coaches have that ability to build personal relationships with kids. They get them to do the same thing while we're doing that X and that O. So you got to give. And I think what we don't have in the coaching ranks today are those guys who have that kind of compassion, not just to win. I mean, because some guys are highly motivated, and I understand that, and I don't fault them for that. But what I would fault them for is when you don't be complete. Not only how to win on this court and win this game today, I want you to win in life. And I want what I'm teaching you today, if you win this game today, to win in life. And I think that's how you coach it. At least that's my philosophy anyway.
And I share one more story, but I want to get back to some of the athletes that has passed away this past year. Mm-hmm. But one of the from that team, a part of that team, and you can relate to this because you're sitting there and you're coaching, and your team is playing, and you're trying to figure out like what is wrong with them. When you see the team playing, and you're going like, what the heck is going on? We had an 8 o'clock game one morning. And like I told you, the person that I was coaching with, her daughter was playing, right? So we had the 8 o'clock game. I came, and I'm trying to figure out, like, what is wrong with them? Well, later on, when the game was over, I said, what is going on? Well, come to find out that they had a sleepover. They didn't go to bed until about 5 in the morning and woke up and had like Cocoa Puffs for breakfast.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get them to understand, if you have an 8 o'clock game, you can't go to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning and wake up and eat Cocoa Puffs and come play basketball. Because that's what they look like. They went to bed at 5 in the morning and woke up to come play an 8 o'clock game and had some Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, well, and Cocoa Puffs felt like rocks in their stomach too.
Exactly. Because I'm sitting there, so I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? And they, and that's how they play.
Preparation is so important, and I don't always know that coaches. Some coaches don't focus on that. That's one of those things that I focus on, is preparing, not only for the game, but preparing yourself for the game. How much sleep you get, how much liquids you're intaking, what are you eating, when are you eating, and all those kinds of things. I think are intricate parts of successful team and successful athlete. So to be able to address that, I mean, I've seen that.
I was standing there and I was like this right here, like what is wrong with y'all? I'm trying to figure it out. Like, why y'all? Like, they had no energy. They was just like, they was like, and I couldn't figure out like what was wrong with them until later on when the game was over. We sitting around talking, and finally the daughter came up and told me, well, we had a sleepover last night and we didn't go to bed till after 5 in the morning, and we got up and we ate some Cocoa Puffs, and I'm like, where is your mother? Let me tell her, don't you ever allow her. I told her, don't you ever do that again. And I don't think they did.
Parents mean a lot of times, especially divorce parents, in that they've ever played the sport, they mean well, but they don't get it.
No, because she played ball, and she kind of knew, and I'm looking at her like, what? But the sleepover and the girl thing and all that other stuff, that took precedent over everything. So one of the young men that passed away was Terry Glenn, that used to play for your Cowboys. He was only 43 years old. Mm-hmm. You remember him?
remember a little bit about him. I remember him playing there at the tragic, such an early age for him to pass away. I was kind of shocked to hear that. I know that I was not aware that he had any illness of any kind.
Right.
Uh, Kind of shocked to hear that, you know. And in fact, the Cowboys had made mention of that in one of the publications that I see online. They were talking about that that family thing, you know. And that's one of the things I do like about sport is that once you become a part of it, you stay a family member, so to speak. And when you lose one, you feel that loss. That's one of the things I like about sport. It teaches you to care. It gives you the opportunity to care, the opportunity to build relationships. And what I do like about it, I know the professionals do a real good job, but as even after they come out of the professional ranks, they're still part of that family. You know, and I feel that way about the kids that I work with. That when they leave high school, the next time in fact, I saw two or three kids today, earlier this evening, that graduated and going on to college, and they were home for the holidays. And they ran up on me. We had a couple of conversations about times in the past. And then I asked them about how they were going. So you always have that connection. And so when you lose one, it does affect you.
Y.A. Tittle. I'm going way back, man. Y.A. Tittle.
Oh, man.
Right.
Oh, man. I remember that Sunday he got tagged on the field. He's probably most remembered for that hit more than anything else. But Y.A. Tittle was an interesting person. Lived a reasonably. He definitely had a concussion. I mean, and I don't know what concussion protocol was like back then, but he was a classic case of a concussion. He got his deal very well. but never heard of any effects of that. I mean, I don't know if they knew what they were looking at then, as they did with Junior Seau and those guys when they were able to recognize the effects of what happened to them. But I mean, I wondered what kind of effects he had after that, because he took a real hard, vicious hit when they were not equipped safely. Right. I thought back in those,
right,
as opposed to today.
Speaking of getting hit, Jake LaMotta died. He was he was 95 years old, Vince.
Ooh, man, that's a long life. I mean,
speaking of taking hits.
Yeah, he took a couple dozen. He took some hits. And you know, they're still talking about the effects of that on in the boxing world, even in all of sport where we make contact. What is the long lasting effect of that? I know that they've come with this football thing, really talking about these guys are having this post-traumatic syndrome effort, very similar to what they have in the military, and that the brains are being affected, swelling on the brain and stuff like that. While I love the game,
right,
and the game is so exciting, I don't think we always see the other side of the game. Football, even basketball, can be very vicious. Baseball too, and these guys we see them as athletes. We see them as our favorite athlete or that opposing athlete, but I think sometimes we forget they're people too. And I think when they leave the game, when we find out how human they really are.
Do you remember Don Baylor? He played for the Yankees. He was the manager.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, he was the 1979 American League MVP winner. He died at 68. He was battling cancer.
Oh, man.
And Darren Dalton, remember Dalton, who played for the Phillies?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
He was only 55. And
I tell you,
and
preparation, the way we take care of our body. Yes. Eric Parsegan was. I remember Eric because he coached at Notre Dame.
Right, and then the thing is, he I think he stopped coaching when he was like 55 years old. You know, he
became a commentator.
Right.
Worked for CBS Sports, doing college football for a while, and then I thought he did some consulting work as well, but I'm not sure about that as related to football.
Yeah, because I mean, he won 2 national championships while he was there at
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was quite a coach back in the day. back in the day.
I'm trying to think of the manager that was the boxing manager that he was around for a while. Who man, what's his name?
With Ali,
No, no, he
that
what's the guy that beat Tyson? No, not Holyfield, but Frank. But no, this is different. Frank DeFord died too. Remember him?
him I don't remember.
Oh, once you see him, because he was a sports writer. Once you see his
Okay,
picture, you
I mean, all right.
once you
I
see his
might
picture, you
recognize
would know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
Now, this right here, we probably will end the show on this right here, but that whole thing with this, what is it? Was it CT? Was it CTA? What is it?
CTE, I think it's CTE.
Right. Aaron Hernandez, that whole thing, man, to this day, you still wonder
Yes.
about this young man who had so much promise, a gift in the sense of being young, had the world in the palm of his hands, and it just seems that whatever that spirit he had, and they talked about it in high school, they talked about it while he was there in Miami.
College.
Right. And so it's just interesting that whatever that is, I don't quite know. And it's funny because I talk with, with Pastor Jenkins, about that. And we don't ever talk about the spirit, Vince, that spirit and whatever that spirit is. And he's a perfect example of whatever that spirit is,
Yeah, he was a tragic case. Seemed like one heck of a ball player. But one of the things that I oftentimes speak about is a lot of people saw this, but I don't want to say exploited, but I can't think of a better word, to continue to let him play because of his accomplishments on the field, rather than to address his physical abnormalities, if you will. They recognized something was wrong, but he was playing well. He was helping us win. And I don't want to accuse them because I wasn't there, but I just think it looked like they turned their head until he got to the level where it seemed like it just got out of hand and he just began to make these very bad choices. Could something have been done earlier to address that? Maybe they didn't know what they were looking at, because we're finding things out today about the human mind and how the chemicals and all the stuff, how they work in the human mind as it relates to sport that we didn't know before. Maybe he's a case of that. And for him then to commit suicide, and he was going to get off, he was going to get out of jail, but he determined to go ahead and commit suicide. Tragic. That was a tragic situation, but when you listen to the trail of it, how long, all the way from high school, all the way through, and the coaches were going back now saying, yeah, well, we saw that, but, they thought they had it under control.
Right.
I don't know. That's sad. That is sad. I mean, that was a long drawn, and then just think about the people that he affected and the people he left behind, his wife and his daughter. Those are the victims that sometimes we don't ever talk about. But they really pay a high price, and they suffer as much as the individual do in some cases. And that was a tragic situation.
Right. Lou Duva was the guy I was talking about, the boxing manager, and he did manage Holyfield. He was 94 years old.
Holyfield, okay. I didn't know him. I'm not a.
Oh,
If
you saw his face, you would know who I'm talking, because he was always. I mean, he was well known in the sense of, in boxing. But if you were to see him, then you would know who I'm talking about. But Vince, I want to say, Happy New Year, man. How your team doing? Quickly talk about your team. How your team doing this year?
Well, we're doing well. We're 13-3 right now, and we're starting on the second half of the season, and hoping that things will continue to go well for us. We prepare to take this second leg and try to hopefully be in a situation where we can make a return to the state again this year. So right now we're feeling okay, but we're working hard, trying to get better. And every day get better and get ourselves prepared for the second half of the run.
All right. When is your next game?
As a matter of fact, Friday.
Yeah. So who
On
so
Friday.
so who's your rivalry there? What's the big game? What's the big rivalry game?
We already had the first one, a school called Ravenwood. They're right the same city just across town, and we do not like each other. It's similar to a Boone Edgewater game or a Edgewater Jones game.
Right.
But Charles, the atmosphere is unbelievable. The gym is packed, standing room only. The student sections is huge, and they chant the whole game. I mean, it's quite an atmosphere to be involved in. It's very exciting, and it's a lot of chanting back and forth. I mean, you feel like you're in major league sports sometimes. It's an outstanding atmosphere, and we were very lucky this year to win the first one. Now we got to win the second. And they're going
Now,
to beat those out. Because
do
what
they
happened
stream those games?
and
Are those games streamed?
I believe they are. Next time we have one of those, I will try to give you the website. If you will remind me, the next time we have one of those, I'll give you that. I would like for you to see what it's like. And because we have a local school has a television station and
Oh,
radio, as a matter of fact.
okay,
And so they come and they do that. And I need to get that to you because it is absolutely exciting. I mean,
okay,
they really play it. They play it a big time.
okay,
They play it a
okay.
big time. So we're excited right now. But, as coaches, we're cautiously excited, knowing that we've got more work that needs to be done, and we've got to get better every day. And that's our goal right now.
Oh, okay. Well, Vince, thank you so very much. I want to again say Happy New Year. Hope you had a great Christmas. And man, that
Amen.
this storm that is sweeping the southeast and the Midwest and so on and so forth. So if it's 20 something degrees in Florida, so I can only imagine, because it's probably about like
That's
29, I think, up in Tallahassee and Pensacola and all these places. So I can imagine how cold it is there.
I woke up the other morning. I was going to go to the gym. I got up. It was 3 degrees. I said, you know what? I can go to the gym later. I don't have to go right now. That night, we're at 11. We're at 11
Right.
degrees tonight. So we're,
Yeah.
we're, we're getting some warm weather without a shot. But no snow. No snow. Kind of hoping maybe in January, later on this month, we will get some actual snow. But it's cold. It's cold. But it feels good. It
Okay.
feels good.
All right. Well, again, thank you so very much, and again, Happy New Year.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right. That's Mr. Vince Carter. We we know him as Coach Carter, and want to thank you so very much for joining us here on the Journey 20. I'm sorry, I said Journey 2020. Geez, on Youth Central Sports. So I'm having a flashback. I'm thinking that it's Monday, Vince. Well, here at Youth Central Sports, we come your way every Wednesday at 11 p.m. Charles Morris, along with Coach Carter, the original Coach Carter. And so we thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next week talking sports because that's what we like to do right here on Youth Central Sports. Have a great week.